intervals on the new Dura. But first, we gotta get matchy-matchy. We got the red shell to match the red bike. Let's get her on there. I wanted to show you guys what I do with all my bikes. I have this silicone spray, this stuff, and I find it's awesome. You just spray it on, wipe it off, and then because it's rainy today, the roads are a little wet, it'll be way easier to clean the bike. You just gotta be careful because this stuff gets on the floor and you'll wipe out because it makes the floor so slippery. So I've let it set in for a couple minutes and we just wipe it off like this. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it really shines the bike up nice. I'm gonna take the new Dura out on the road for my first hard ride workout, and I'm gonna tell you all the things I notice about it, all the things I like, and if there's anything I don't like. I've been riding for about an hour now, and I'm gonna tell you the first difference that I've noticed is the shifting. It's so fast. The best way to describe it is the cogs feel closer together and the chain feels thinner. The front derailleur is also incredible. It's much improved. It kicks you in and out of big ring like nothing I felt before. It doesn't skip a beat. You're directly into big ring before your finger comes off the button. It's very impressive. It's really difficult to describe the shifting, but I think this is the best way that I can do it. Not only is it shifting much faster, but it slips into the gear much better as well. And like I said, it makes you feel like the cogs are closer together, the chain is much thinner. That's what it feels like. It obviously isn't. The first thought that I had when shifting in the front ring, it made me think that the motor is almost twice as strong. It's just knocking it up into the front chain ring with precision. There's no jumps, it just click, you're into the big ring. Let's look at the shifters real quick. The hoods are much more comfortable. You can get a much bigger purchase on the hood itself. I'll show you why. The space from here to here is much longer than on the previous iteration. And with these big gloves, I can almost fit 3 fingers around. And you can see here, when you're out of the saddle, you can get a much better purchase on the shifter. So that's really good. Also, these buttons are a lot bigger. And then there's a much bigger step. There's a much bigger step from this button to the next button. So even with these big gloves on, it's easier to feel the buttons. In terms of the tactile press, very similar to the previous iteration. I can't really tell a difference with the button press itself. I got the next set of intervals to do, and then we're gonna talk about braking. I just did a set of intervals and they were 30 seconds at 80 to 90%, 1 minute rest, and 10 of them, but all standing. That's what my coach wanted me to do today. After finishing that set, it really shows how much they've improved the shifting. Like I was saying, because they were all standing, I had to switch gears out of the saddle. What I would find on the previous iteration of Dura is sometimes I would shift gears and there'd be a big drop, you know, like an abrupt shift. I don't find that at all with this, but very impressed. Flawless shifting, underblowed, no issues. I will say, and I'm gonna say at the end of the video whether I think it's worth upgrading, because this is an expensive upgrade. But also, I don't think I mentioned this already, but when I picked up this bike 2 days ago at my local bike shop, they told me I was the first customer in Canada to have this new Dura-Ace. And a question is going to be obviously, how did I get it? And so what happens is Trek apparently was one of the first brands that Shimano gave dibs to, quote, dibs, sorry, can't find a better word, but apparently Shimano gave Trek dibs, so Trek was one of the first brands to get it, and then they send an email out to all the dealers. And because I have a great relationship with my local bike shop, as soon as he got that email, he called me. And I'm on the phone with him, I'm like, okay, what about, you know, 54 frame, 110 stem by 42, and then started talking about the different gear ratios. And so what I wanted was a 5440 in the front and an 1134 in the back. But as he's like selecting the options, they're getting sold out as he's selecting them. So I just barely got in. I got the bars and the frame size that I wanted. I ended up getting 1130 cassette in the rear and a 3652 in the front. But I'm using my cork with the 9100 chain rings, and it works perfectly. So if you got 9100 Dura-Ace chain rings and the 8000 Ultegra chain rings work, they work. I'm running that right now and I have no issues, shifts perfect. So once I put the order in, the bike shipped within 3 weeks. Took me about another week to get it, and here we are, super excited. Let's get on to braking, because there's definitely an improvement on the braking. I want to chat about that as well. Let's go. Quick note on the rear derailleur, as I mentioned, that the previous generation max capacity was 30 teeth. The new Dura-Ace max capacity is 34 teeth, which is definitely an upgrade. But just a quick note in case you didn't know, coming back to the shifters real quick, the buttons on the top, you know, the hidden buttons or whatever they're called, they haven't changed at all. They're almost identical in terms of the feel and the press. It's you know, they might be a little bit more tactile, but they're almost identical. The rubber is different on the hood material. You can see I like it better. It sticks to it more. I found on some of my other hoods the rubber would be a little bit loose, but this isn't loose at all. It feels like it's glued on there. The brakes are much more modular, and when I heard that, I didn't understand what it means until I felt them. And basically what it feels like is, let's say we take the previous gen, the 9170. As you apply the brake, it feels like there's only on off. So you're either braking or you're not braking. These brakes, as you depress the brake a little bit, you can feel them grab, and you really have control over how much braking you have. Feels like it has a lot more stopping power. And what that modulation is as you're grabbing the brakes, you can feel it grabbing the disc more and more. So you can control how much braking you have, which is great. The brakes feel more powerful and you have more control over them, like I said. Also, there is more disc clearance. They say 10% more. I never really had too much trouble with discs rubbing. I haven't really been able to tell a difference with that at all. I just got back from my ride. I'm gonna give the bike a good once over, a good cleaning. I wanted to show you a couple things real quick. One is with the shifters. It only has 2 ports, but the bottom port is actually a switch. And what I mean by a switch, hopefully you can see, but I have the 1 port with the plug there, and then I have the 2nd port with the wire attached. So there's only 2 ports. And the bottom port, what I mean by a switch, is I have these two. These are the original 9070 shifters, and they're just a button. And the difference is these ones here, the 9150s, these aren't a button. These act as its own shifter. So apparently you can do a firmware update for these, which I've done, but I need to attach the new wire end to them, the 300 series wire, which I'm gonna do. I got some on order. I'm gonna test that. That should work. But What you can do is just order a 300 series wire and any button will work in that bottom port, which is really cool. I also wanted to show you the wire, the charging cable. So the charging cable is actually just one long wire with a USB at the end and this funny connector. Right here on the bottom, right there. And then this just clicks in. And it's actually, I don't know if you can hear this. A click. Feels like a magnetic click of some sort. Anyways, I really think they should have used a USB-C. That would have been really cool. That way you don't have to worry about keeping this wire. I think this is better than the previous one because you don't have that big clunky, that rectangle box. But you do have, you know, a proprietary wire, which if you lose this, it's probably $100. Then you can't charge it. Now the question, is it worth it? And that's so hard to answer. I will say this. I love it. I think it's awesome. It shifts better, but this isn't something you need. If you have either of the last two iterations of Di2 prior to this one, you're doing fine. It works great. This is, again, it's hard to answer. I love it. I think it's great, but the old ones work great too. So completely up to you guys. I know that probably didn't answer your question, but it's really tough because I can't really say how much better it is. Do you know what I mean? But it is better. Is it 50% better? Maybe, but it is better. And then it depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about the front chainring? The front chainring's way better. I would say it's at least 50% better, maybe more. The rear, maybe 50%. The hood ergonomics are better. Once you start adding all this stuff up, yeah, it's better. I use my YouTube channel as an excuse to get it, and I love this stuff. Like, this is a passion of mine. I love bikes. I love all this stuff. So I did it. But all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. More to come. Please hit the subscribe button if you like my channel. Please hit the like button if you like the video. And please comment. I love to hear from you. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.